Hey everyone, so I wanted to catch you up as to where I am with this bathroom in terms of the floor joist sistering. So in previous videos I've talked a lot about how to sister joist and how I've learned how to sister joist anyway. And so what I'm going to do in this video is just talk specifically about how I'm working with this one over here. This is the fourth joist that I have to correct or reinforce. And so this one, the challenge here was because, as you remember, there was a bunch of blocking in the middle there, and it was just kind of a mess of stuff there. And in order to make sure that this was sistered correctly and that I had enough reinforcement in here for tile flooring, I really had to get a lot of the blocking and all the other crap that was here out of here. So the first thing that I did was I wanted to make sure this wall that runs parallel to this joist was supported. Because there is blocking that runs underneath that wall from this old joist back over to the joist underneath the wall. I wanted to make sure that wall was supported before I started taking anything out of here. So what I did was I took some deck railing. I've got 4 pieces of deck railing at a few different spots underneath the wall just to hold it up just in case. I don't really think this wall was going to go anywhere, but I just wanted to make sure I had some support underneath there just in case. So that was the first thing I did. The next thing I did, I originally started cutting out all the blocking because I was going to take it all out, but then I realized that accessing all that blocking underneath this wall was going to be really hard to do, and it would be really time consuming. So I've decided to go ahead and leave a lot of the blocking in place, and instead what I did was I just cut back enough to where I could get the sister in alongside this original joist. And so that was the next thing I did. I took a jigsaw on these 2 pieces here, this one there, that one right there, and this one over here. I used a jigsaw right alongside the original joist that was there and just cut that back. And the base on my jigsaw, the offset from the base to the blade is actually 1.5 inches, so that worked out perfectly. I did have to shave a little bit more off using the multi-tool, but I was able to fit the sister in fairly easily there. And as you noticed, the other pieces are more stubs, like that one right there is kind of a stub, and that was part of the original plan to cut all the blocking out, and that's when I changed course and decided just to leave the blocking in place and instead just cut it back enough to get a sister in. So that's why you see a few stubs. There's like 3 stubs in there that I'm going to have to sister alongside those stubs perpendicularly from this new sister over to the joist underneath the wall there. So that'll take care of those not, kind of hanging in the air, and I have some support for those blocking pieces that are there also. And so the next thing after that, I removed this middle portion here, got all that out of here after I got my support in place. I got this middle portion out, and once I did that, this piece here kind of sagged a little bit. That one over there actually stayed fairly level, did not move at all, so I wasn't worried about that one, but this one did sag a little bit. So what I did is I went out to my car and got one of those jacks you use for changing tires, and I put that on the floor and then put a 2x4 on top of that between the jack and this joist piece here, and just gradually jacked it up to level. So that was good. Another thing I had to do, because I realized that when they patched this thing, they actually staggered the 2 end pieces, so that piece there and this piece here were actually staggered like this. They weren't really together, they weren't in the same plane. I'm not sure exactly why they did that. That was kind of foolish and dumb looking, but I could see it when I was standing over it that they were staggered like this. So after I cut out that piece, that middle portion there, and got some support for this part here, I actually took my clamps, these clamps here that act as spreaders also, and I spread out that piece there from this piece here at 16 inches on center, and I did the same thing on that one. So I spread that one out from this original joist here at 16 inches on center. So now they're in the same plane. And then the next thing after that, I had the sister in place, and I just screwed and glued it up. And then I'm just going to put another piece in the middle there. I'm probably going to cut out some of this existing rot that was here, and I can tell that the rot really hasn't affected the joist in any way. It hasn't infected the joist. So I may just leave that in place, but I'm thinking I'm probably just going to go ahead and cut it out and just put a whole new piece right in there, a nice fresh piece of wood, and just glue and screw that into the new sister that I have in there. As you can see here, I've got clamps still in here all along here, and I just left the clamps in place for a few days because this is one of the more unstable joists that I have in this bathroom. I just left the clamps in place so the glue has a time to cure and to set up before I take those clamps out of here. And so I think I'm on about day 3 of those clamps being in place, so I'm probably going to give it another day or two and then I'll just pull them out. Then the last step after I get all this done is I need to run some blocking from the sister back underneath the wall to the other joist so that I have some support for the new plywood subfloor that's going to go in here. And I'm going to probably put those new blocking pieces in. I'll probably space them out about 12 inches to 16 inches apart so that I have good support for the new plywood. So that's where I stand, and then I'll show some more video later about how I actually finish this whole thing up and how it looks when I'm all done. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I wanted to show you real quick how I cut this piece off here. So what I did when I put this all together, I didn't actually glue and screw this portion because I figured I was going to cut it off. So I just left this part, I glued and screwed up to here. So I got 3 screws there. And so to cut this, I used a circular saw, and I put this ledger board, or this board here, as kind of a guide, a straight edge. And I measured the offset. The offset for my circular saw is 3 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the base of the saw to the blade, and then that's where I've attached this this straight edge here. So I just attached it with 3 screws. Ran my circular saw across or along this straight edge, and then I've got this piece here. So now what I'll do is go ahead and patch between here and over there. So now what I'm doing, like I said, I'm test fitting this patch piece, and I'm going to be attaching some glue to the back of this, putting it in place, and it looks like this piece is fitting pretty well. I did pre-drill it and attach the screws before I put it in place here, so I don't have to worry about fighting with screws and trying to make sure that the clamps stay in place and all that. The clamps are holding it well, but I at least got this part done where I can actually just secure the screws without having to worry about whether the board's going to move or not. So that's my next step, is to go ahead and secure these screws and put some adhesive on it first of all, and then secure the screws and I'll be done. So that's what I'm working on right now. Okay, so I've got this ready to go in. Got my clamps next to me here. I'll do this side first. And now this side. And move this down just a little bit here. Actually, that's okay. I'll drop it. Oops. I think this other part is dry, so I'm just going to steal one of these clamps and put it over here. I think we're good there. Make sure I got enough room to get my screw gun in there. Okay. So it looks like we're good there and there. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the screw gun and go ahead and attach these screws. Alright, so we got the sister in, and then we have the original joist all patched up. And I'm just going to let that glue set for a while. I am probably going to have to notch out over here. I'm going to try not to go as deep as they did originally. That's a little too deep of a notch there. And that should be it. I am going to have to shave some of this down and make sure that this is the whole thing here is level, and it's level across from here to here, and just check level everywhere in this room. I am most likely going to have to use a self-leveling compound in a lot of places, but once I get the tub in here, I'm not going to worry so much about this area anyway. Just about 6 feet down that way is what I'm most concerned about. So there you have it.